4 years earlier, Emily Carter had entered Moretti Tower carrying a second-hand leather bag, a paper cup of coffee, and the quiet determination of someone who understood that mistakes were luxuries she could not afford. She had been 25 then, one of 30 applicants interviewed for the executive secretary position, and the only black woman who made it past the second round. Vincent Moretti had spent exactly 7 minutes interviewing her. He asked whether pressure frightened her. Emily said pressure only revealed what people had failed to prepare for. He asked whether she could keep secrets. She answered that discretion was not silence. It was knowing which truths belonged to you and which ones did not. Vincent had looked up from her resume for the first time. She was hired before lunch. Within 6 months, Emily knew Moretti Holdings better than executives who had worked there for a decade. She knew which investors needed reassurance before negotiations, which attorneys buried important information beneath polite language, and which meetings Vincent accepted because of pride rather than good judgment. She learned his habits without becoming familiar, his preferences without becoming intrusive. Coffee at 7:15 in the morning. No calls from reporters before noon. His mother's birthday every October 18th, because Vincent forgot it twice and never forgave himself. She knew when he was angry by the way he loosened his watch. She knew when he distrusted someone by how still he became. Most importantly, Emily learned that powerful men were rarely destroyed by enemies standing outside the gate. They were destroyed by people already holding keys. The first irregularity appeared 8 months before Vincent fired her. A private meeting with a shipping executive was moved 30 minutes earlier without Emily's authorization. Then confidential numbers from a financial report appeared in a competitor's proposal. 3 weeks later, a hotel reservation made under Vincent's private travel account was canceled and replaced with another location. Each incident was small enough to dismiss. Together, they formed a pattern. Emily began keeping handwritten notes at home because digital records could be altered. She compared calendars, access logs, expense reports, and meeting changes late at night after her mother had fallen asleep. One name appeared too often near every irregularity. Nathan Cole, Vincent's financial advisor, his father's former associate, a man trusted so completely that questioning him would have sounded almost insulting. Emily said nothing. Not yet. She needed proof. Nathan noticed her attention before she realized he was watching. One evening, Emily left the office after 9 and found him standing beside her desk. He smiled warmly and asked why she worked so late. She told him Vincent had an early meeting. Nathan glanced at the notebook beneath her hand. "Loyalty is an expensive habit, Miss Carter," he said. Emily met his eyes. "Only for people who pretend to have it." His smile disappeared for less than a second. That was enough. From that night forward, Emily stopped investigating whether someone inside Moretti Holdings was betraying Vincent. She began investigating how far the betrayal had already reached. And while Vincent continued walking past her desk every morning, trusting her to organize his world without ever asking what burdens she carried home, Emily quietly discovered something that changed everything. Nathan Cole was not trying to steal Vincent's company. He was preparing Vincent to willingly sign it away. 3 months before Emily was fired, the pattern finally became a plan. It began with a contract labeled the Chicago Agreement, a 42-page document prepared by Nathan Cole and presented as the most profitable expansion in Moretti Holdings history. Vincent was expected to sign it during a private meeting in Chicago, but Emily noticed details that did not belong. The hotel had changed twice. The transportation company had been replaced without her approval. 3 members of Vincent's security staff had been reassigned on the same afternoon. Most troubling of all, the agreement transferred temporary control of several Moretti accounts to a financial committee chaired by Nathan if Vincent became unavailable for 72 hours. Emily read that clause 6 times. Then she started digging deeper. She discovered payments routed through shell companies, altered travel records, and private messages hidden inside routine financial reports. Every trail led toward Nathan, but every trail ended before it became proof. He had spent years building trust around himself like a wall. Vincent believed Nathan because Nathan had known his father. The board respected him because he never raised his voice. Employees trusted him because he remembered their names. Emily understood something they did not. The most dangerous lies rarely sounded like lies. They sounded reasonable. Then Nathan changed his strategy. A bank account appeared under Emily Carter's name. $12 million arrived through a chain of companies she had never heard of. Forged emails appeared on her office computer. Security records showed her entering restricted rooms at times when she had been home caring for her mother. Emily stared at the evidence and felt the trap closing around her. It was perfect because it used the truth against her. She did have access to Vincent's schedules. She did move confidential files. She had been investigating private accounts without authorization. Every action she had taken to protect Vincent could be presented as evidence that she had betrayed him. Emily could have gone directly to Vincent that night. She almost did. She stood outside his office with the Chicago agreement pressed against her chest while the city lights reflected across the dark windows. Then she heard Nathan's voice inside. Vincent was asking whether the Chicago trip could be delayed. Nathan answered calmly, "Everything is already arranged." Emily remained still. Nathan continued, "If anyone becomes nervous now, we will know where the problem is." The words changed everything. Emily understood that Nathan was watching for resistance. If she accused him without undeniable proof, he would change the plan, destroy the records, and move against Vincent from another direction. So she made a choice that frightened her more than losing her job. She allowed the false evidence to remain. She secretly copied Nathan's financial records onto an encrypted device. She moved Vincent's travel schedule without permission. She transferred her mother to stay with relatives in Virginia. Then she removed the silver watch Vincent kept locked inside his private desk, the last possession his father had worn before his death. Hidden inside the watch was an old recording device Vincent did not know still worked. Emily placed it where Nathan held his private conversations and waited. 2 days later, she recovered it. The recording contained names, account numbers, and the truth about Chicago. But Nathan had already discovered the missing watch. By sunrise, Vincent had received the bank records bearing Emily's name. By 9:17, she was standing before the leadership team. And when Nathan smiled from across the conference room, Emily finally understood the full price of protecting Vincent Moretti. To save the man who had never truly seen her, she would have to let him believe she was the enemy. Emily walked out of the conference room with 12 pairs of eyes following her and not one voice asking her to stay. The hallway outside Vincent's office had never seemed so long. For 4 years, she had crossed that floor before sunrise, carrying coffee, contracts, schedules, and problems no one else knew existed. Now she carried a small cardboard box containing a framed photograph of her mother, 2 notebooks, a coffee mug, and the plant she had kept alive beside her computer through 4 Chicago winters. Employees stepped aside as she passed. Some looked embarrassed. Others stared with the curiosity people reserved for public disgrace. Emily kept her shoulders straight. At her desk, Nathan Cole appeared beside her before she could close the box. "You should have minded your own business," he said quietly. Emily continued packing. "I did." Nathan's expression tightened. "You think that recording changes anything?" Emily finally looked at him. "You would not be standing here if you believed it did not." For the first time, uncertainty crossed his face. Emily picked up the box and walked toward the elevators. Behind her, the conference room doors remained closed. Vincent had not come after her. That hurt more than she expected. Inside the elevator, Emily pressed the lobby button and watched the numbers descend. 47, 46, 45. Her phone vibrated. A message from her mother appeared. "Safe in Virginia. Do not worry about me." Emily closed her eyes for 1 second. At least that part had worked. On the 41st floor, the elevator stopped. 2 senior managers entered, recognized her, and immediately became silent. One of them had once called Emily at midnight because he had forgotten his daughter's graduation ceremony. Emily had rearranged an entire morning of meetings so he could attend. He looked at the floor now. Emily said nothing. Quiet justice required patience, and patience was the only thing Nathan could not control. When the elevator reached the lobby, she crossed the marble floor beneath the enormous Moretti Holdings emblem. The security guard at the front desk, Harold Bennett, stood when he saw her carrying the box. "Miss Carter." Emily gave him a small smile. "Take care of yourself, Harold." He looked toward the elevators, confused. "Are you coming back?" Emily paused. "That depends on whether Mr. Moretti learns to listen." Then she walked through the glass doors into the cold morning air. 48 floors above her, Nathan poured himself a glass of water and returned to the conference room. "The Chicago flight leaves in 3 hours," he said. "We should continue." Vincent did not answer. His eyes were fixed on the empty chair where Emily had been sitting. Something about her final question troubled him. Did you sign the Chicago agreement? She had been accused of stealing $12 million, and that was what she chose to ask. Vincent opened the folder again. Bank records, emails, security logs. Everything pointed toward Emily. Yet 4 years of memory pushed back against 4 minutes of evidence. He remembered the time she had canceled a meeting because she noticed one investor had lied about his identity. The time she found a $7 million accounting error before anyone else saw it. The time she warned Vincent not to trust a consultant everyone admired. She had been right every time. Vincent looked toward Nathan. Where is the original Chicago agreement? Nathan hesitated, only for a fraction of a second. But Vincent Moretti had built his life by noticing fractions of seconds. In your private file, Nathan answered. Vincent reached for the folder. His hand stopped. Beside it sat an old silver watch he had not seen in 15 years. His father's watch. The room became silent. Vincent picked it up slowly. The metal felt cold against his palm. Who put this here? No one answered. Nathan's face lost its color. Vincent turned the watch over and noticed the back panel was slightly open. Inside was a tiny recording device. He pressed play. Static filled the room. Then Nathan Cole's voice came through the speaker. And within 10 seconds, Vincent Moretti understood that he had fired the only person in the building who had been telling him the truth. The recording began with the sound of a door closing. Then Nathan Cole spoke with the calm confidence of a man who believed no one would ever hear the truth. He described the Chicago agreement, the temporary transfer of financial authority, the altered travel schedule, and the $12 million account created under Emily Carter's name. Every sentence stripped another layer of certainty from Vincent's face. Around the conference table, no one moved. Nathan stood near the windows, his expression controlled, but his silence had changed. It was no longer confidence. It was calculation. Then another voice entered the recording, a man Vincent recognized as one of Nathan's outside financial partners. What about the secretary? The man asked. Nathan laughed softly. Emily is useful because she is careful. People trust careful people until you give them a reason not to. By the time Moretti sees the money, he will do the rest himself. Vincent's fingers tightened around the watch. Nathan had known exactly which weakness to use. Not greed. Not fear. Pride. The recording continued. Nathan explained that once Vincent signed the agreement and became unavailable during the Chicago negotiations, temporary authority would move to the committee Nathan controlled. Contracts would be approved. Accounts would be transferred. By the time Vincent returned, Moretti Holdings would still carry his name, but the power behind it would belong to someone else. Vincent looked across the room. Cancel the flight. No one hesitated. Freeze every account connected to the Chicago agreement. Suspend Nathan's access to company systems. No calls leave this room until security completes a full review. Nathan gave a thin smile. You are trusting a recording planted by a woman accused of stealing from you. Vincent pressed play again. The final section began with silence. Then Emily's voice filled the room. If you are hearing this, he believed the evidence. Vincent stopped breathing for a moment. Her voice was steady, but beneath it was something he had never noticed while she sat outside his office every day. Exhaustion. That means Nathan thinks the plan worked. Do not confront him until the Chicago trip is canceled and the financial accounts are secured. The money under my name is false. The emails are false. I kept copies of everything. But if I defend myself before you hear this, Nathan will know he has been discovered. I am sorry I took your father's watch. It was the only object I knew you would never throw away. A long pause followed. Vincent stared at the silver watch in his hand. Then Emily spoke again. You once told me loyalty means standing beside someone when it costs you something. I hope you meant it. The recording ended. No one in the room spoke. Vincent looked at the chair Emily had occupied less than an hour earlier. He remembered her standing alone while 12 men judged her. He remembered asking whether any of it had been real. He remembered refusing to let her finish a sentence. For years of loyalty, dismissed in 4 minutes. Nathan moved toward the door. Sit down, Vincent said. His voice was quiet. Nathan stopped. Vincent turned to Ryan Cooper, the head of security. Keep him here. Treat him professionally. I want every accusation verified before any decision is made. It was the fairness he had denied Emily. The realization settled heavily over him. Vincent walked out of the conference room and reached her desk. Empty. The plant was gone. The photograph was gone. Only a pale circle remained where her coffee mug had rested every morning. Vincent pulled out his phone and called her. Straight to voicemail. He called again. Nothing. Then Ryan appeared behind him. We checked her apartment. She left before sunrise. Her mother is gone too. Vincent turned slowly. Find her. Ryan hesitated. Nathan's people are searching for her as well. Vincent looked toward the glass doors through which Emily had walked less than an hour earlier. For the first time that morning, the most powerful man in the building understood the truth completely. Emily had not simply sacrificed her job to protect him. She had made herself the only person Nathan could not afford to leave unaccounted for. Vincent moved through the next hour with a precision that made everyone around him uneasy. The Chicago flight was canceled. Every account connected to Nathan Cole was locked pending review. Ryan Cooper assigned trusted security staff to monitor the building while the company's legal team began verifying the recording, the forged emails, and the false bank records. Yet Vincent barely listened to the reports arriving every few minutes. His attention kept returning to the empty desk outside his office. For years, that was how long Emily had sat there, close enough to hear every door open and every problem approaching. Now her absence seemed louder than anything she had ever said. Vincent opened the bottom drawer of her desk. Empty. The second drawer held only office supplies and a handwritten calendar with important dates marked in blue ink. Board meetings. Tax deadlines. His mother's birthday. Ryan's wedding anniversary. Even Harold Bennett's retirement dinner. Vincent stared at the page. Emily had remembered the lives surrounding him, while he had barely remembered to ask about hers. We found her car, Ryan said from behind him. Vincent turned. Where? At a commuter parking lot 12 miles outside the city. The keys were inside. Her phone was found beneath the passenger seat. Vincent's expression changed. She wanted us to find it. Ryan nodded. She knew anyone tracking her would follow the phone. Vincent looked toward the windows. Emily was still protecting herself with the same careful intelligence she had used. To protect him. Her mother? Safe with relatives in Virginia. Emily arranged everything 3 days ago. 3 days. Before the accusation. Before the meeting. Before Vincent had even known there was a threat. She had prepared for the possibility that he would not believe her. That truth cut deeper than the recording. Vincent returned to his office and opened the secure cabinet where Emily kept emergency travel documents. One envelope was missing. He checked the access log. Emily had opened it at 6:12 that morning. Inside the remaining files, he found a train schedule with 3 departure times circled. Boston, Washington, Pittsburgh. Ryan studied the paper. Could be a diversion. It is, Vincent said. He remembered something Emily had told him 2 years earlier when a reporter tried to follow him after a charity event. Never give someone one false direction when you can give them 3. Vincent closed his eyes and searched his memory. Emily had spent 4 years knowing everything about him. If he wanted to find her, he would have to prove he had noticed something about her. Then he remembered a conversation from the previous winter. Emily had mentioned a small railroad station west of the city where her father used to take her when she was a child. The station had been closed for years, but the waiting room remained open during the day as part of a local historical museum. Westbrook Station, Vincent said. Ryan immediately reached for his phone. Vincent stopped him. No large team. If Nathan has people watching the roads, attention will lead them straight to her. You should stay here. Vincent looked at the empty chair across from his desk. I already stayed here once when I should have listened. 40 minutes later, Vincent's car turned onto a narrow road bordered by bare trees and old brick buildings. Rain covered the windshield in silver lines. Westbrook Station stood at the end of the street, quiet beneath a faded clock tower. Vincent stepped out before the car fully stopped. Through the tall windows, he saw a woman sitting alone on a wooden bench with a cardboard box beside her. Emily. She looked up as he entered. No surprise crossed her face, only exhaustion. Vincent stopped 10 feet away. For the first time since he had known her, there was no desk between them, no schedule to discuss, no title protecting him from what he had done. You should not have come, Emily said. Vincent held his father's silver watch in his hand. You knew I would. Emily looked at the watch, then back at him. No, I hoped you would listen. Those are not the same thing. Vincent had commanded rooms filled with powerful men. He had ended negotiations with a sentence and changed people's futures with a signature. But standing before the woman he had publicly humiliated, he discovered there was no authority in the world that could make the next words easier. "Emily," he said quietly, "I was wrong." Vincent's apology remained between them, quiet and insufficient. Emily looked toward the rain-covered windows of the old station. "You should go back to your company." Vincent took one step closer. "Not without you." Emily's eyes returned to him. "You do not get to decide that anymore." The word stopped him. For years, people had obeyed Vincent because refusing him carried consequences. Emily was the first person to make him understand that authority could open doors, but it could not restore trust. Before he could answer, headlights moved across the wet windows outside. Emily stood immediately. "How many people came with you?" "Ryan and one driver." "Then those cars are not yours." Vincent turned. 3 dark sedans had stopped near the entrance. Ryan entered from the side hallway, his phone in his hand. "Nathan sent people to recover the copies Emily made. Local authorities are already on the way, but we need to leave through the rear exit." Emily picked up her cardboard box. Vincent reached for it. "I can carry my own things." "I know," he said. "That does not mean you should have to carry everything alone." For the first time, her expression softened, but only for a second. They moved through the museum corridor toward the back of the station while Ryan stayed on the phone, coordinating with authorities. No one raised a voice. No one needed to. The danger was not in what might happen physically. It was in whether the evidence Emily had spent months collecting would disappear before Nathan could be held accountable. At the rear door, Emily stopped. "The encrypted drive is not with me." Vincent stared at her. "Where is it?" "Somewhere Nathan cannot reach without exposing himself." Ryan looked up from his phone. "The financial investigators have secured the company's servers. Nathan's access has been revoked, and the authorities have enough from the recording to question everyone involved." Emily released a breath she seemed to have been holding for months. Outside, the sound of approaching sirens grew louder. The sedans near the entrance pulled away before anyone reached the station. 20 minutes later, Vincent and Emily stood beneath the covered platform while Ryan spoke with investigators. Rain fell beyond the roof in steady silver lines. Vincent looked at Emily. "Come back." She gave a tired laugh without humor. "As your secretary?" "No," his answer came immediately. Emily studied him. "Then as what?" Vincent looked down at the silver watch in his hand. "As the person I should have trusted." Emily's face remained still. "Trust does not return because you finally discovered you were wrong." "I know." "Do you?" she asked. "Because this morning you let 12 people watch you destroy my reputation. You did not ask for an investigation. You did not give me one day to answer. You looked at evidence designed to confirm your worst suspicion, and you chose the easiest person in the room to blame." Vincent said nothing. There was nothing to defend. Emily picked up her box again. "Go home, Vincent." She walked toward the waiting car. He watched her take several steps before speaking. "Please." Emily stopped. Vincent Moretti had negotiated with billionaires, politicians, and men who believed compromise was weakness. He had never begged anyone to stay. Now his voice carried no command. "I cannot undo what I did," he said. "But give me the chance to repair what I can." Emily turned slowly. "You still think this is about my job?" Vincent looked at her, and for the first time, he understood that regret was not the pain of losing someone valuable. Regret was realizing you had failed to value them while they were still standing beside you. Emily did not answer Vincent immediately. She watched the rain beyond the station platform while investigators moved quietly in the distance, collecting statements and securing the evidence that had nearly cost her everything. "You want to repair what you can," she said at last. "Then start by understanding what you broke." Vincent remained silent. Emily turned toward him. "You did not fire me because you knew I was guilty. You fired me because believing the evidence was easier than questioning yourself." Vincent lowered his eyes to the silver watch in his hand. "You are right. I had worked beside you for 4 years. I knew your schedules, your accounts, your enemies, your family obligations, and every person who entered your office pretending to be loyal. When $12 million appeared under my name, you never asked whether the woman you knew was capable of taking it." Vincent looked at her. "I should have. You should have asked questions." Her voice remained calm. That made every word heavier. "You should have investigated. You should have given me the same fairness you gave Nathan after hearing his own voice on that recording." Vincent remembered ordering Ryan to verify every accusation against Nathan before making a final decision. The hypocrisy was impossible to ignore. Emily continued. You gave him patience because he had known your father. You gave me suspicion because I worked outside your office. Emily. No. You need to hear this. Vincent stopped speaking. I spent years protecting a man who knew my mother's name only because it was written on an emergency contact form. I remembered your mother's birthday. I knew when you skipped meals. I changed meetings when you had not slept. I protected your reputation when other executives made mistakes. And somehow, after 4 years, I was still easier to accuse than a man who shared your last name's history. Vincent's face tightened. Tell me what it costs to make this right. Emily stared at him. You still think everything has a price. That is not what I meant. Then choose your words carefully. The station fell quiet around them. Vincent took a slow breath. Tell me what I have to change. Emily's expression shifted. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But recognition that he was finally asking the correct question. Start with the people who watched what happened this morning, she said. Do not hide your mistake behind a private apology. Clear my name in the same room where you damaged it. Vincent nodded. Done. Restore every employee who was punished for questioning Nathan's decisions. Open the company records to an independent review. Create a process where accusations are investigated before people are publicly condemned, no matter what position they hold. Done. Emily held his gaze. And do not offer me my old job. Vincent became still. Why? Because I was doing work far beyond that position for years, and you benefited from it without seeing it. The truth landed cleanly. Vincent looked at the woman standing before him, then at the cardboard box she had carried out of his building. What position would you accept? Emily shook her head. You are still trying to solve this too quickly. She stepped closer, her eyes steady. You cannot buy back dignity, Vincent. You cannot promote away humiliation. And you cannot ask the person you wronged to make your regret easier to carry. He froze midward. Emily picked up her box. If you want to become a man worth trusting, change when no one is watching. Then maybe one day, I will believe the change is real. She walked toward Ryan's waiting car. This time, Vincent did not ask her to stay. He understood that respect meant allowing her to leave with the choice he had denied her that morning. As the car disappeared into the rain, Vincent stood alone beneath the station roof, holding his father's watch and facing a truth no amount of money or power could silence. Emily had saved his company. She had saved his future. But the next thing that needed saving was the man Vincent Moretti had allowed himself to become. 1 month later, the same conference room looked unchanged, but nothing inside it felt the same. The polished walnut table still reflected the morning light. The skyline still stretched beyond the windows. 12 executives sat in the same seats they had occupied when Emily Carter had been publicly accused. This time, no one avoided the empty chair near Vincent Moretti. Nathan Cole was gone from Moretti Holdings, and the independent investigation had cleared Emily completely. The false account, forged emails, altered security logs, and financial scheme had been documented. Vincent had done exactly what Emily demanded. He restored employees who had been punished for questioning Nathan. He opened company records to outside investigators. He created a formal review process requiring evidence, independent oversight, and a private hearing before any employee could be publicly accused. Then he did something no one expected. Vincent called a company-wide meeting and stood before hundreds of employees without prepared remarks. I failed someone who earned my trust, he said. I judged her publicly, so I will correct the record publicly. Emily Carter protected this company when I refused to listen. The failure was mine. He did not mention the apology afterward. He did not send Emily expensive gifts. He did not call her every day asking whether she had forgiven him. For 4 weeks, Vincent changed when she was not watching. Then, on a Monday morning, the conference room doors opened. Every person at the table turned. Emily walked inside wearing a dark blue suit and carrying no cardboard box, no coffee, and no schedule for anyone else. Her mother was safe in Virginia. Her name had been cleared, and for the first time in 4 years, Emily entered Moretti Tower because she had chosen to return. Vincent stood. So did everyone else. Emily looked around the room, remembering the silence that had followed her when she left. This silence was different. Vincent gestured toward the chair on his right. Please sit. Emily remained standing. You said there was a position you wanted to discuss. Vincent nodded. There is. One board member shifted uncomfortably. Vincent, perhaps this should be handled privately. Vincent looked at him. What happened to Miss Carter was not private. The man said nothing more. Vincent turned toward the room. For 4 years, Emily Carter identified risks our executives missed, protected confidential operations, recognized internal threats, and prevented decisions that could have cost this company millions of dollars. We called her a secretary because that title made it easier not to notice the work she was actually doing. Emily watched him carefully. Vincent continued, effective today, with independent authority to investigate internal risks and report directly to the board. Emily Carter is Chief Intelligence Officer of Moretti Holdings. No one spoke. Vincent looked at Emily. The position is yours if you want it. If you do not, the reforms stay. The public correction stays. Your name stays cleared. You owe me nothing. Emily studied the chair beside him. A month earlier, she had stood alone while everyone in this room judged her. Now Vincent was offering something more important than a title. Choice. She walked to the table and sat down. Vincent took his seat beside her, not above her, not in front of her, but beside her. The meeting began. Months later, employees would remember the new policies, the investigations, and the changes that followed. But Vincent remembered something simpler. The morning Emily returned, she did not thank him for finally respecting her. She did not need to. Respect was never a gift powerful people handed down to those beneath them. It was a debt paid through humility, accountability, and change. And that day, the room went silent long enough for everyone inside it to remember what dignity looks like.